Welcome to the Through the Lane podcast with your co-host Lane. Carmine is still not with us. He's very busy. We don't have an off day together, so I closed with him last night, and we were talking about trying to get a day together to hang out and record. But he's about to go off to New York, so we will be without him for a while, unless he wants to do it on Zoom. But it's been an eventful few days since our last episode. Literally, like within a few hours of the last episode dropping, some big things happened, and we'll start off with one. JJ Redick was hired as the Lakers head coach, and I said it all along, and Carmine called me. He goes, "You called it." The podcast they had was just a leading up to it. Like, it just, the way he talked was like him and LeBron thought on the same page, and you're like, well, if I want to win a title with LeBron, I need a coach that's like him and my head coach think the same. And they do. JJ Redick has a very similar mind to LeBron when it comes to basketball. They're both very smart. And I think short term it's a great. I think it will work out possibly. I don't think they'll win a title, obviously, but I think they will be successful. And he will do a solid job. He'll help kind of fix the offense. The offense was very rough at times. If and I'll talk about this towards the end of the JJ Redick thing, Rob Pelinka puts together a roster, and I'll talk about him in a second. But I think it's a good hiring. I think that the perfect spot, honestly, because I heard them talk about it, would have been the Pistons, just because it's such a young group that you can mold. They literally have no direction, really. All it is up. They can't get much worse than what they were. So you put a new head coach that has only coached fourth graders in there, but he's such a smart mind, it would have worked out perfectly. I don't, in a hypothetical. But again, I think it's still a really good hiring to bring on JJ Redick as the Lakers head coach. Now, going to the Rob Pelinka thing. At some point, they got to stop firing head coaches and look at Rob Pelinka. Because you look at the original core, you had Lonzo, Brandon Ingram, Julius Randle, but he was traded a little bit before, Kyle Kuzma, Josh Hart, Alex Caruso, THT. I mean, a litany of young guys, Thomas Bryant, Ivica Zubac. And they traded them all away to where none of them are still on the team. And they won one title, and then after they won one title, they took another big hack at it because, for whatever reason, and it just started the downfall. Like I said in the last episode, the Russell Westbrook trade was probably the beginning of the fall. And Rob Pelinka keeps bringing in guys. I mean, like Max Christie, not big on him. Their most recent first-round pick does not look that good. Jackson Hayes and Christian Wood, that was a weird signing. Bringing in Gabe Vincent while having D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves, that made no sense. Rui Hachimura and Jared Vanderbilt, very redundant in position-wise. Both have two very different games, but both of them kind of need a start. Where do you go from there? You have no depth. He hasn't made a move to acquire depth. He hasn't been able to pull off a move to get the big head coach. I mean, yes, JJ Redick was a good one, but Dan Hurley was the main guy, and the year before it was Monty Williams. So at what point do you look at the general manager and say, you're not giving us the best product? Because a head coach can only do so much with what he's given. So like Darvin Ham was like fighting for dear life. I mean, at one point, a fourth of the Lakers roster was rookies. The guys were undrafted or late second round picks. A dude named Alex Fudge. Corey Castleton, I think was another guy. They bring on Dylan Windler. They're like running through two-way guys, which two-way I think is a great idea, and I'm not going to go on there. I love the two-way contracts. But they miss on things. They missed. Let's look at the 2022 draft class. Jalen Hood, Sculio. We're not even trying with that. What year was he drafted? It's a rookie. We'll go NBA 2023. Because I believe that they whiffed on some guys. And I think I see Cam Whitmore, Jaime Jaquez, Brian Pawlowski, Chris Murray, Marcus Sasser, Ben Shepard, Nick Smith Jr., Julian Strother, Bryce Sensabaugh, Jalen Pickett, Andre Jackson, Amoni Bates, Trace Jackson Davis. I mean, they missed on so many. And the three, so it goes Jalen, then it goes Jaime Hawkins, Brandon Pavlovsky, Cam Whitmore. All three are at least eighth man. The furthest down is eighth in the rotation to starters. And Jalen barely played. At what point do you look at Rob Pelinka and say, you're not giving us the best product? You're not doing enough. He got lucky. I don't know how long he's been. I don't know how long he's been there. But at some point, do you look at, tenure? He was Kobe's agent. He was extended through 2025 and 2026. He's got like 1 or 2 more seasons. He took the team over in 2018-2019 season, and they won it afterwards. He shipped off the whole young core of the Lakers. The guys are having successful careers, and we'll touch on another one that just got traded, but you shipped them all off for a buttload of old guys, like we're seeing with the Suns, and it did not work. The Rockets did a very similar thing. They had a young core, shipped it all away, brought in old guys, failed. What have the Celtics done? They got a late 20s KP. They brought in a late 20s Derek White. Then they bring in young death pieces who give you energy. Jared Vanderbilt is the only guy that gives you energy. Austin Reeves does not play with that kind. He has his moments, but Jared Vanderbilt, when he's on the court, is electric. Christian Wood was miscast as a backup center. You didn't do well with that guy. Scored 15 points per game once. Let's look it up. I'm a big fan of Christian Wood. Think he can be a very solid player. I just think he was terribly miscast. Yeah, 2 years ago, 17.9 points. 3 years ago, 21 points per game. This year, 7. He's 28 still. In his prime. Played 50 games. 17 and a half minutes. He just didn't fit the roster. I just did not fit the roster. And there's a revolving door around point guard. And they're saying, well, we need another point guard. Okay, well, who are you going to get? Trae Young? DeJounte Murray? I mean, and they don't have assets. Now, they can trade swap rights, but those are also tied to the Pelicans. So, which really are triggered by the Pelicans because you gave all those picks to them. So then you have like a handful, like 4 or 5 picks in the next year that are truly under your control. They can't get swapped. That's not enough. Because you can't trade a certain amount of those picks. I think it's 4. Now, yes, down the road, the later picks probably will be really good because the Lakers are probably going to suck then. But again, it's still not good enough. At what point do you look at Rob Pelinka and say, you're the problem here. It's not the head coaches. We've had 7 since you've been here. It's you. I don't think they've had 7, but I think they've had like 4. 4 or 5. He has a new one almost every year. He fired Frank Vogel a year after he won the championship. Then hires Darvin Ham. Cans Darvin Ham after a year. He canned Luke Walton after a year. Now, I believe Luke Walton did not deserve to be that head coach. And I think he went on to Sacramento and then he got canned after a year. And it was obvious he's not a head coach. But I'm pretty sure he hired Luke Walton. So again, you're making these bad hires. You can't get the marquee head coaches. You can't bring in top-name free agents. You brought in Dennis Schroeder, but then you miscast him. And it just didn't work out well. And there's this sense of urgency. You're not getting the big guys. You're not getting young. Like, if I'm the Lakers, I'm really looking at Ricky Council Jr., and I know not many people know about him, but the dude plays with energy. He's athletic, and he can give you about 8, 9, 10 points a game, but it's just the energy. This team is lethargic. They look tired. They look old. They are really old, and they're injury prone. You need some young legs in there, some healthy young legs. Their first round pick does not look like he may make an impact. Now, by all means, I could be wrong. I haven't seen much of him. Seen some tape of him, and he looks terrible. Max Christie looks nothing more than a fringe bench player, and just at least he can be on the roster and give you some minutes. But he's a fringe rotation player. Because he's inefficient. I mean, the brother struggles with his shooting. And that's supposed to be his thing. And he's not, 4.2 points a game. 43% from the field, 36% from three. 78% from the free throw line. The year before, 41% from the field. 41% from three. He hit a solid amount of threes. He's taking 1.5. But that was 3.1 points. Pretty much he's just knocking down a three. This year he was given some more minutes. Started 7 games compared to 3. Played almost all year. Now credit, he is 20 years old. But it's inefficiency with the lack of production. If he was producing and he was inefficient, okay, we can fix that. Or if he was very efficient but the numbers weren't there, okay, he can grow into that. We can sacrifice something. But there's nothing there. Yes, he's going to be coming in at his age 21 season. But again, he's a solid bench player. Give you 10, 15 minutes a night. Do his job. That's about it. So at what point do you look at Rob Pelinka? I think J.J. Redick was a very solid hire. I think the perfect situation, I think I said this before. I didn't say this. I think I said the Lakers were the perfect hire. But that was before the Pistons were open. And I think you give a first-time head coach to the Pistons, and especially like J.J. Redick, they take off. But I think also with the Lakers, if you give him the tools, they can win the title. Because he's that smart. He'll put him in the right positions. You listen to him talk, and you're like, holy cow, he's smart. I'm going to be sad that he's not going to be on podcasts anymore because I love listening to him talk about basketball. You listen to his Andrew Schultz podcast, he's running laps around Andrew Schultz's mind. Now, yes, it's Andrew Schultz, but Andrew Schultz knows a little bit about basketball. So again, you look at it, I think it's a good coach. If they do bad, you've got to look at Rob Pelinka and say, I get it, you want us a title. I get it, you're Kobe's agent, but you're not doing enough. You're not supplying us with enough talent to do it. I'm going to move on from there. Some extensions happened. Malik Monk signed an extension. It was what? 4 years, $78 million. I think this was a great extension for the Kings. Me and Carmine talked about it, have him starting as the shooting guard, but really I think Kevin Huerter on the roster right now fits it more. I think you could most definitely upgrade, but I think he provides that necessary punch off the bench. I would like to see him get 30 minutes a game. 26 is not enough. Solid efficiency. 15.5 points off the bench. Played 72 games, so he's very healthy. He's still 25. Which is crazy. Now, he's still 25. He's been in the league since the 17-18 season. He came in at really young, 19 years old. And, he's been solid. He's a good scorer. I'd like to see a little bit more defense out of him. But I really like this extension from the Lakers. Looking at it, he has somewhat similar. He more than doubled all the stats that Max Christie had. Struggled with efficiency. But as a 19-year-old, in 13.5 minutes, 6.7 points per game. Shot 34% from 3. I take that. Okay, next year, 8.9 points. 33% from 3. 38% from the field. 20% increase. Then coming into his age 21 season, and I guess this will be where Max Christie crosses the line, 10.3 points, 43% from the field, and then it was rough, 28% from 3. Kind of made him a little bit unplayable. But there was progression, and he was so athletic. Malik Monk's, extremely athletic. I don't see that with Max Christie. Also, Max Christie is a little bit shorter than him. Let's look at the measurables. If it has it on here, he's 6'3". What is Max Christie? 6'6". Okay, Max Christie's a little bit taller. It's more of a wing than a guard. Malik Monk's a guard. You can't tell me otherwise. But, again, I'm not a fan of Max Christie. But I really like the signing of Malik Monk. I think the Hornets really wish they still had him. Or not, actually, I think the Lakers wish they still had him, because when he went on that tear where he started 37 games at the end of the year, and he went nuts. And it was a career year for him. He shot 47% from the field, 39% from three, 13.8 points. Now, he's gone up, but it was like he rebuilt his stock and showed that he could be an amazing six-man or a very solid starter. And then he got his deal from the Kings. I think the Lakers still wish they had him. I mean, man, the Lakers could have used 15 points per game, 35% from three, 44% from the field in 26 minutes, no starts. I mean, the Kings are, like, allergic to starting Malik Monk. Like, I mean, their allergies start acting up when they have to, like, start having, they start sneezing a little bit. But I think it was a great extension. Now moving on to the next. And this is a move that I'm really big on. Josh Giddey was traded to the Chicago Bulls for Alex Caruso. I brought up Alex Caruso's stats. Alex Caruso, I'm starting off where I think about this. I think this was a great move. You have enough scoring with Shea, Jalen Williams, and Chet Holmgren. And Chet Holmgren was technically a rookie, so he'll go up. And Jalen Williams is probably going to go up or become more efficient. Okay? Casey Wallace will become better. Isaiah Joe's going to get better. You're going to get more out of another first-round pick you have. I mean, let's just look at the Thunder's. Let's just look more at the Thunder's roster, right? Because, let's look at how insane this roster. I mean, and the improvements you're going to see, right? Casey Wallace is going to get better. Aaron Wiggins will probably play more. Jalen Williams will get better. Keontae Johnson may get some run time. Right? Lou Dort is very solid, guy. You needed defense. You needed a point of attack defender. Shea is like he's an average defender, but that's about it. Alex Caruso is the point of attack. I think that's something that he could have neutralized either Kyrie or Luka. And he had a career year last year. Let's look at this. He had 10 points per game, shot 40% from three, 47% from the field. That's like top of the line. And he's all first defensive team. He was all second, all NBA second for defensive. But he was all NBA first defensive team last year. Finished 10th in the voting. Again, top notch. And he looks like now he's going to his age 30 season, but he looks like there's a little bit more room to improve. That's great. Dude, all he's got to do is knock down shots and just defend. Dude, he's probably happy right now. Back to when that Laker team won that one title, where he really does not have to do much. Just hit down a few threes and play, just being a disruptor, which he is. Great defensive player. Great move by the Thunder. Because the shooting guard position was kind of rotating through. Now you get your perfect shooting guard. Or you can put him off the bench, have him be your sixth man, and still have defense with Casey Wallace. Now, Josh Giddey, he goes to the Chicago Bulls. I don't really understand where you're going to go from there because it's a little bit redundant with Kobe White and now Josh Giddey. Let me look at their roster a little bit. But I think he needed that. I think he needed to go. He fell out of favor. He regressed a little bit in terms of shooting, and I have his stats pulled up, and we'll look at them in just a second. Yeah, Ayo Dosunmu. I mean, there's a little bit of redundancy. Zach LaVine, Javon Carter. It brings a little bit of redundancy. Now, I get it. He's a young guy. He's 22? Yeah, he's going into his age 22 season, which is insane. He's a little bit of a triple-double threat. I mean, last year, 12 points per game, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. But the year before was his career year. 16.6 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, 73% from the free throw line, 32% from three, 48% from the field. Last year, he was 47% from the field, 34% from the three-point line, 80% from the free throw line. Like 12.3 points. He kind of just fell out. When he was first drafted, he was the number 2 option besides Shea. Then you draft Chet and Jalen Williams. Chet gets hurt that year. Jalen Williams takes off, becomes like a 20-point-per-game scorer. Well, Josh Giddey's not overtly aggressive. He's more of a facilitator, which that could work for the Bulls, and he kind of just takes a step back. Now, yes, he had 16.6 points, but you then have to wait. Chet's still coming. Chet hasn't debuted. Chet debuts this year. Jalen Williams takes another step, like 24 points per game, and then Shea goes absolutely bonkers, and is averaging like 35. Then Chet gives you 17. He starts to fall back. And then his defense starts to take a step back. And so they move him to the bench. Because like they started to struggle in the playoffs. And then all the drama around him, we're not going to go into that. We're going to talk just about basketball. But he starts to get put on the bench. Mind you, out of 210 games he's played, he started 210. So it's a bit of an ego hit. He did not go well, and they had talks, and he preferred to have been traded. Now he gets put to a Bulls team that is in purgatory. This Bulls team has nowhere to go. You got a Zach LaVine who has 0 value, Nikola Vucevic who has a little bit of value, DeMar DeRozan's getting up there in age, but I mean, he's still a solid player. Patrick Williams is probably going to walk. Kobe White just turned the page, but I mean, Kobe White is about to be 25. Andre Drummond's going to walk. This team is in nowhere. I mean, you might as well just rip it to the studs and start over with Kobe White. And I would trade Kobe White, Josh Giddey as the helm, Dalen Terry, and just go from there. And also, Lonzo Ball, talking about redundancy, Lonzo Ball is coming back, by the way. Lonzo Ball is healthy now. So what are you going to do? You've got Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, Josh Giddey, and Lonzo Ball. And I made the case that Lonzo Ball is better than all of them. And you can play defense, triple-double, shoot the lights out of the stadium, score. So I don't really understand that unless they plan on moving. I could see Ayo Dosunmu getting traded because he is very similar to Alex Caruso, but I think a little bit more. He's not as good defensively, but better offensively. But very solid defensively. See DeMar DeRozan getting traded very soon. If I'm the Lakers, I'm going out and getting DeMar. If I'm Rob Pelinka, DeMar's got to be the move, and then you somehow acquire a point guard. Because there's nowhere to go. Zach LaVine is stuck there. You also had Zach LaVine into the backcourt, but he has knee issues now. I mean, if the Bulls, I don't know. I like it because it's a fresh start. But in the same sense, the redundancy at that position, at the guard spot, so bad. And this team is going nowhere. They didn't even get... What's crazy is they got fleeced. They had 15 first-round picks in the next, 7 years. Got 0. 22 second-round picks in the next 7 years. 0. How do you manage to let that happen to you? Where you get nothing in return for Alex Caruso outside Josh Giddey, who is a change of scenery guy. Again, I think this makes the Thunder, again, contenders. They've upgraded. They still have a crap ton of money, and I think they could really much use a very good backup center. Jalen Williams is undersized. I think you could use a little bit more of a kind of a scorer. Lonnie Walker, if he became a free agent, I would go after Lonnie Walker. And then Andre Drummond. Try to bring both of them in. Or try to acquire maybe a Paul Reed, but that, again, brings in another undersized big. Maybe go out and try to sign Buddy Hield. So you get shooting, a little bit of scoring on the bench. And maybe Zach LaVine. Maybe you make another trade with the Bulls as the Thunder. You bring in Zach LaVine, and let him rebuild value. I don't know. The Bulls were 39-43. Oh man, they just rough. I don't like what their executive has done. Okay, I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name. He's been with the same team since 2020. They've had one winning season. The team just does not look good. They've won 3 playoff games. And the team's gotten worse. So he fires Jim Boylan, hires Billy Donovan, selects Patrick Williams. Right? Okay. Trades Wendell Carter and Otto Porter Jr. away, and a first-round pick that ended up being Franz Wagner. Man, could have used him. And Jet Howard could have used him for Alfred Camino and Nikola Vucevic. Again, they're putting all their chips in the basket here at the trade deadline. And then as another three-team trade, Daniel Gafford, man, really good, another really good center. Chandler Hutchison to the Wizards. The Bulls traded Lee Cornette, another solid backup center, for Javonte Green, Daniel Tice, and that's it. And Troy Brown Jr., okay? 2021, don't have a first-round pick. Sucked Ayo Dosunmu. Solid pick. I was personally surprised that he fell that far, okay? Trades Daniel Tice away. Trades Tomas Satoransky and Garrett Temple away for Lonzo Ball. Okay, good solid move, right? Sign Alex Caruso. Yeah, okay, we're building here. We're building. Trades Alfred Camino, Thaddeus Young, and a second-round pick, and a 2025 first pick to the Spurs for DeMar DeRozan. Okay, we're building something here, right? Signs Lauri Markkanen and trades him away. In this trade, they get Derek Jones Jr. and a first-round pick, 2022 first-round pick. That I don't think they ever really used, okay? They signed all these guys to fill them back. Matt Thomas, Stanley Johnson, okay? No big moves. Then they whiff on Dalen Terry. I mean, they whiff hard. Re-sign Derek Jones Jr., bring in Andre Drummond, sign Zach LaVine to extension, Goran Dragic. I mean, like, it looks like we're building something here. Then it hits a snag. Sign Kobe White to an extension. Alonzo Ball gets hurt. Team starts underperforming. Because you're not really getting anything. Dalen Terry could have used him. But you whiff. That Vucevic trade is going to kick him in the butt. And this 3-team trade where they gave up a lot. They didn't have their 2021 first-round pick. He tried so hard when he became the GM to push everything in the basket to win right away that he kind of just gave up the house, got an older center, and Vucevic is regressing. Like, I mean, let's look at Vucevic here. I still think he's a very solid center, but I don't think he's, 18 points per game, 10 rebounds, shot 30% from 3. It was one of his worst three-point shooting seasons in a long time. Scoring, he has not been the same scorer since he arrived in Chicago. Under 20 points per game. He was around a 20-point per game scorer with Orlando. Another GM. I think in basketball, GMs don't get enough crap for how they build a team or how they tear it down. They don't get enough. Like, Myers for the Warriors does not get enough credit for what he did for the Warriors. Because without him now, they've kind of struggled a little bit. The GM position is a very important because they put the team together. It's not the head coaches, it's not the players. He puts those players in the position and then they get molded. He finds them. Finds the gems in it, like Quinn Cook, like Alfonso McKinney, Sean Livingston, Zaza. Guys like that. But that's the end of that rant. Scotty Barnes just signed an extension. It's 5 years, $270 million. Man just got his bag. He just finished his third year too. He's going to be entering his age 23 season. He started out as a power forward, moved to small forward, and now is a shooting guard. And I'm not even joking. That is literally how he's moved up. Small ball is real. But he's also so versatile. So his rookie year will show how much he's improved. 15.3 points. Him in rookie and sophomore year averaged the same amount of points, so we're not going to look at his sophomore year. 73% from the free throw line, 30% from the three, and about 50% from the field. Okay, this year, he shot 47% from the field, a little bit down. 34% from the three, up. 78% from the free throw line. his rookie year, he had 7.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, 1 steal, close to a block. This past year, 8.2 rebounds, 6.1 assists, 1.3 steals, and 1.5 blocks. Also, on top of that, 20 points per game. He's going into his 4th year, too. Has not even hit his peak, and he's not even done with his rookie deal. That is a great move that you can build around. Now, the Raptors are in an interesting spot because they have some pieces that they can move. You know, R.J. Barrett and Emmanuel Quickly, I think you've got a big 3. Grady Dick looks solid. I guess you put Scotty Barnes back at the 4. You need a center. If I'm them, I'm trying to move heaven and earth for Donovan Clingan or Alexander Sarr, because that would fit so well with the team. Like, really well, because it's a young center, good team to play. It's a very solid team, because the Raptors, let's be honest here, Gary Trent Jr.'s got to go. Does not fit the timeline. Jakob Poeltl, Bruce Brown, I would trade because you could get a few firsts from him. They have Ogba Ogudeji from Kansas. He was with the Cavs and the Jazz. I mean, they have some solid guys. I mean, there were some guys that definitely were like, wow. Javon Freeman Liberty, 7 points per game. You know, let's look here. They traded away Malachi Flynn, was big fan of that. Jalen McDaniels has been a bust. I mean, brother went from a high-end, low-end starter to a high-end rotation player and has kind of disappeared. You know, they have the Jonte Porter issue, but they just kind of gotten old. Dennis Schroeder was there for a time. You know, they gave up Pascal Siakam, and I was a fan of that move because it now gives Scotty Barnes kind of leeway to start at the 4. And I think if Scotty Barnes takes another step, then you have a superfied superstar. He looks like he's about to be a superstar. He's on that way. Gary Trent, you can get something very solid for. If I'm the Lakers, Gary Trent's guy I want. Now, I don't know what I give up for him. You know, Christian Wood with the Raptors would look great. He'd be a good starting center. But just the Raptors are in an interesting spot. Be interesting to see what they do. Man, the second half of the season, the first half they were very good or were solid. Second half of the season, they were terrible. Now that's after the Pascal trade. Grady Dick then started to play more. He was like small. They wanted him to put size on. It's the weirdest situation in the world. 8.5 points. Very inefficient from the field, but 36% from the three-point line. I mean, I'm a fan of that. Javon Freeman Liberty looks like a very solid rotation player. And he's a rookie. Now, he's 25. That's crazy that he's a rookie and he's 25. I feel like he's been on an NBA roster before. And he's 24, but he's about to be 25. But yeah, that's that part with the extension. And then another head coach was just signed. I think of this morning or late last night. Kenny Atkinson. And the Cavs came to agreement for him to become the head coach. I think this is a great move. Kenny Atkinson is a heck of a defensive coach. If you look back at it, when the Nets were making a run with D'Angelo Russell and that young group, that young core, and they were playing very solid defense, just a scrappy team, Kenny Atkinson was the head coach of that. I believe they should have never gotten rid of him. I understand Steve Nash is Steve Nash, but Kenny Atkinson, and I think they had a disappointing year. I believe Kenny Atkinson is a heck of a head coach. I didn't know if he was going to leave or not because he really liked it with the Warriors. He's been the Warriors assistant for the past 2 years. I think he was with the Clippers for a year, and then he's been with the Warriors for the past 3. His last year with the Brooklyn Nets, they were 28-34. Then they can him. Jack Vaughn takes over, and then they hired Steve Nash. Right, he was there for 4 years. Right, they had a 42-40 season. They showed progression, and then they exploded. Then you had the 62-game season because of COVID. 28-34. I thought he did really good. He wasn't given enough time. They completely flipped the roster. I think now being under Steve Kerr for a few years, I think he'll be an even better head coach. And I like it. You give him Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland, I don't think both of them are going to be together. Evan Mobley, Jared Vanderbilt, Emoni Bates. I'm so high on Emoni Bates. Georges Niang, Ty Jerome, Craig Porter Jr., Isaac Okoro, Karis LeVert. This is going to be a solid team. I think the JB Bickerstaff firing was very, understandable. They kind of just plateaued. And this is where you're going to see, another team I would watch is the Grizzlies. Because they're plateauing too. Now, yes, they got mollywopped by injuries, but I think you're going to see they kind of plateaued. Vince Williams Jr. is going to take the Dylan Brooks role, but he's not going to be poking the bear because they don't need to poke a bear poker. But I think Taylor Jenkins will be quickly out of a job. I think he'll get fired. I don't think he is a championship-winning coach. The lack of responsibility with Ja has been apparent. And then just everything with the Dylan Brooks situation, it just looked like they lacked responsibility. And the head coach to hold them. Because, the Ja thing, he just kept doing it. No one got in his ear. The head coach looked at, it's the head coach's job. Dylan Brooks is being a menace, and I get it, that's the character of your team, but you're beating the Lakers, pokes the bear, and you lose the series. He pokes the Warriors bear, you lose the series. He just poked bears. I don't give respect till they drop me 40. How about 50 on your head? What? If I'm Taylor Jenkins, I'm like, dude, you've got to shut your trap. It's a top 3 all-time player, and you're running your mouth at him. And brother's still capable of dropping 50 on your head. Shut it. Shut up. You're not him, Dylan Brooks. But he didn't. He let him talk. He let Ja Morant be an idiot. And I know you can't control his actions, but at some point you got to be like, hey, man, I need you. Stop being an idiot. You're hurting all of us. You're not looking cool. You're making the team look bad. And I think he kind of blew it. And the down year they've had this year, even when they were healthy, they just did not look good. Just did not play good. So I think he will be on the hot seat. I think he's a guy that will most likely either get fired mid-season or end of season if they don't do really good. Moving on. Also, the Cavs, before we move on, the Cavs are in a very interesting situation because reports came out that Donovan Mitchell resigns, Darius Garland, and once gone. If Donovan Mitchell doesn't, they don't want to really play with each other. There's something that happened that we don't know about. If it is true, I don't think the Cavs will be that good. I think they need those two. You got to get rid of Jay Down and move Evan Mobley down to the 5. Having the Twin Towers does not work. They just don't play well together. It's a lack of spacing. If Evan Mobley plays the 5, he can at least hit occasional threes and space the floor out for Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. But it'll be interesting this off season to see what they do. On to the next, and we're gonna start off. Brandon Ayuk. I don't know if anybody saw this, but he said to Jaden Daniels, 49ers don't want me back. I think this is a huge thing because I like him. He's a very physical receiver. I think he does, really good, solid blocker. I like him more than Debo. And Debo's a little bit older. Debo's got some more wear to his body. I mean, he's a back-to-back 1,000-yard receiver. 8-7 touchdowns. Looks really good. I don't know why you not bring him back. Ricky Pearsall is not going to replace Brandon Ayuk. He can replace Debo Samuels because Debo Samuel's getting up there in age. Right? I mean, 1,300 yards last year from Brandon Ayuk. Why are you trading him away? Or why are you just being like this to him? And I want to see receiving yards. If they'll let me see him. Let's pop up Debo. He had 800 yards receiving. He's also injury prone. And he had 225 yards rushing. 5 touchdowns, 7 touchdowns receiving, 5 rushing. So 12 total from scrimmage. But, I mean, he's not the guy he was 2 years ago. And he was a little bit older coming out of the draft. I think you just move on from him now. He's going into his age 28 season. You take Brandon Ayuk, take Ricky Pearsall, Juwan Jennings. Honestly, I'd run it for a whole year of Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Ricky Pearsall, Jawan Jennings, George Kittle. And then after that, see where you go from there. You just try to maximize it for a year because you're going to have to make space eventually because Brock Purdy's in his last year of his deal. He doesn't get a fifth-year option because he was the 7th-round pick. And the man's going to get paid. The man's, one of the best quarterbacks in the league right now. Brother's going to get his bag. So you've got to clear money out for it. And so, I was already going to talk about it. The Brandon Ayuk, where would he go? I put Bills, Chargers, Commanders. All three teams need receivers. All three teams can pony up the assets to get it, which would be huge. Get him and Jaden Daniels play together. When Jaden Daniels was at Arizona State, you need more receivers with the Chargers. I think you're going to build an abundance, but this is a team that plans on contending, so you need an abundance of really solid receivers. The Bills need a number 2 or number 3. Brandon Ayuk can become that number 1, and then Keelan Coleman can play number 2, and Khalil Shakir can stay at the number 3 role. And then you have James Cook coming out of the backfield. Looking at it, I think that would be the teams he goes. The chances of him getting traded are high, very high, because I don't know how happy he is there. He doesn't seem very happy at all with being there. Just quite simply about it, with how the situation's worked out. So I would not be shocked. And he doesn't show up to mini camp, so I wouldn't be shocked if they traded him around preseason. And those are the 3 teams that I would look out for. Now pivoting back to the 49ers. Ronnie Bell was solid. They don't really have much depth. The offensive line's very solid. I would like to see them have upgraded the left guard. But George Kittle looks good. That's a very solid offense. Ricky Pearsall being in the slot will be interesting. I believe they'll probably sign another guy. But looking at the defense, and this defense looks stupid, okay? Nick Bosa, Javon Hargrave, Leonard Floyd. All 3 guys had 10-plus sacks last year, I'm pretty sure. Let's look at Javon Hargrave. All right, let's just look at him. So let me pop him up without giving me 1,000 other pop-ups. So let me just look him up. He had 7 sacks. 7 sacks. That's still pretty good. You add Leonard Floyd. Let's look. Leonard Floyd had a heck of a year. Leonard Floyd. Let's look at, and he's 31. He had 10.5 sacks last year. Up there with, he tied his career best. You look at that, okay, then Nick Bosa, insane. Drake Greenlaw, we don't know when he'll be back from Achilles tear. Fred Warner, best linebacker in the league. Devondre Campbell's over. Darius Ward is one of your corners. And their secondary, they always pull dudes out of their butts to just, Isaac Yadum's there, George Odom, Ambry Thomas, Tyler Halafunga, who was an all-pro safety, Ayer Brown. I'm butchering all these names. These teams, they look stacked. Stacked. It's a team that, they lack some overall depth offensively, but, their guys stay relatively healthy. And if Brock Purdy is him, and they also have Joshua Dobbs, then I believe, running back, Elijah Mitchell, Christian McCaffrey, Cody Schrader? Oh, that's insane. And Isaac Greta. Really good running backs. This team's going to be insane. I would like to have seen a left guard upgrade and maybe a better secondary guy. Bring in. He's just with the Cowboys. Drawing a blank. Stephon Gilmore. You bring on Stephon Gilmore? Dude. But I think this is another Super Bowl contending team. Moving on from that, Aaron Rodgers not at camp. This looks so bad. because he just doesn't. He talks about manifesting and all that, and he's not there at all. And so it doesn't look good, because you want, one second. There we go. You want your quarterback to be there. You kind of revamp the offense, and so you want him there. He did not play at all last year. He only has one training camp. I'd like him to be there again, since he did not have a whole season to work with the guys. I would love for him to be there. And he's just not. You've rebuilt this offensive line. My worry is he shows up right at the beginning of training camp and he's behind then. Also, right now, since he's not there and he's going to be your starting quarterback, what do you work on? Can't really do much offense. Can't put much offense in without him there. So this defense better be darn good, because they're doing a lot of defensive work. Now, they're catching the receivers up to everything, but they can't run much offensive team plays because their starting quarterback is not there. The starting quarterback's MIA. Hassan Reddick's in Japan, swinging his sword around. When is he going to get there? I just don't like that situation. Aaron Rodgers is getting kind of too big for himself right now. Him saying, I'm going to manifest it, pops his Achilles 4 plays in the game. What's going to happen this year? Is he going to suck? If he sucks, oh, good Lord, Jets are going to fix and be back in purgatory, because they'll probably clean slate in 2 years. Clean town. I know they got, Jordan Travis. And, Travis can turn into a very solid quarterback, but they would have to clear house pretty much. And just keep Aubin Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, that tackle they took, their starting center, and then a handful of defensive players. I think Quinn Williams would get traded. But yeah, it looks bad. Aaron Rodgers, man, he's not something about. He just does not. He seems too full of himself right now, and it's insane because man's only won one Super Bowl. He doesn't have the Super Bowls to back it up. Yeah, he's got MVPs, but he just doesn't he doesn't finish the season. So, on to the next. We're coming towards the end. We're going to look at the Cardinals. I looked at the 49ers. We're going to look at the Cardinals. The Cardinals look like an interesting team, right? Kyler Murray's going to come into the season healthy. First time in about a year or two. James Gardner and Trey Benson, very solid running backs. And Michael Carter. I love Michael Carter when he was with the Jets. I think those are three really good running backs. Then you have Marvin Harrison Jr., Michael Wilson, Zay Jones. I love Zay Jones, and I'm a big fan of Marvin Harrison Jr. So there you go, two big receivers. You have Chris Moore as well, Zach Pascal, Andre Baccarella. He's been with the team for forever. Xavier Weaver, who played for Colorado. Then you have Trey McBride, Paris Johnson Jr. Center is I'm not even trying to spell that name. And you also have Jonah Williams. So tackle, you're golden, right? I saw somewhere Paris Johnson may get moved to left guard to put Calvin Beachum at tackle and Jonah Williams. And you put your best talent on the field. Then at defense, the 3-4 base, Zaven Collins, been a little bit of a disappointment. Justin Jones, B.J. Ojolari has a lot of potential. Kazir White, great linebacker. He was really good with the Eagles. Sean Murphy Bunting, very solid corner. Budda Baker, one of the best in the league. It looks like a so-or-so team. They may just barely make it. They lack some overall depth defensively. Mac Wilson Jr. looks solid. That name seems very, very familiar. Oh, yeah, he played for Alabama in 2019. He was all right. They could have used another starting linebacker to put in there. We'll go pull up the other chart because I feel like it's a little bit better. But yeah, Kazir White, Kyrus Barnes. Yeah, he's the other guy that I think he'll play a big part. He looks very good. Max Melton. Darius Robinson was another first-round pick this year, or he's an early second. That expects to be a big-time pass rusher. This team, I know that offensively they may explode. The issue is going to be protection in the middle of the offensive line, from center and then the two guards. Will Hernandez is solid, but I'm not sold on Evan Brown and then the center. Receivers, Zay Jones, Greg Dortch, Zach Pascal, Andre Becquerel, Xavier Weaver. That's about it. Chris Moore, right? But that's about it. Desmond Ritter's their backup. Trey Benson, I think, will play a lot. They also have DJ Dallas. The team, just looking at it here, I would have liked to have seen them go out and got another corner. Max Melton. You hope. Garrett Williams, nickel dime, nickelback. I would love to have seen them got out just another secondary guy. And then another pass rusher. Just in the middle. Sign somebody like Calais Campbell. He went to the Miami Dolphins. He signed and helps their pass rushing squad. So, yeah. I wanted to do this team because this morning I saw them talk about NFL Live. The duo of Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. And I think it'll be great if they can stay healthy. I think another guy that isn't talked about enough, and I see like he'd be a surprise Pro Bowler, would be Trey McBride. He was a guy that had a lot of hype coming in on him in his rookie year. He kind of, injuries to the quarterback position, being behind Zach Ertz for a bit, kind of just tampered him a little bit, but now he's a full-time starter, and he took off last year as a full-time starter, having multiple games where he led the team in receiving yards. And so I like that. I think the offense will be pretty good if they can protect Kyler Murray. I think they need to go out and get a guard and a center next season. But I think it'll be a fringe wild card team. They're not going to win their division, but I think they can be in the fight for it. I don't know. I'm not going to say they're a lock, and I don't say that they have a high chance of making it. But I think that they have a solid chance, especially if they can stay healthy and a few guys explode off. They also have Myles Murphy, another interior defensive lineman. Yeah, if Myles Murphy and Darius Robinson do pretty good, this defense can be pretty good. And then you have Marvin Harrison Jr. do Marvin Harrison Jr. things. Dude, this team will be pretty good. And this team will. I forgot about Myles Murphy. They may win. They might not win, but they'll make it to the wild card, which is something they need because if not, they may end up blowing it up at some point. Is this the right Myles Murphy? It should be. Yeah, it's the right Myles Murphy. But moving on to the last thing, and I'm not big on hockey, don't really cover it much, but history sports-wise is being made right now. And the game will come out later today, hopefully around the same time this episode does. And let's look at it. I think the Oilers forced a Game 7 after going down 3-0, which never happens. I think the Cats came back from being 3-1. The last time this happened, it was in the 1940s. Series is tied 3-3. It'll be my first hockey game I ever watch because, if the Oilers make history, be insane. It's been darn near 80 to 100 years since this last happened. And, Florida's going to blow a 3-0 lead. That would be detrimental. They, watching some stuff this morning, they've said this is the best hockey season ever. So, they would just cap it off at the Edmonton Oilers won it. Also, apparently Canada hasn't won a hockey title in 30-something years, so this would be big for Canada. But yeah, that's the end of that. And one last thing, we're counting down less than a month, like 2-3 weeks away from College Football 25 coming out. We'll talk about it out on here when I pre-ordered it, got it 3 days early. So I'll talk about it on here. I'm also going to, one of my friends, shout out Brock, said that, I should watch a little bit of lacrosse, and I've heard a lot about the PLL, I think it's called, how that's very exciting. So we're going to look into that, try to cover some of that, as long as a lot of free agency news, look at some teams, get more in-depth with some teams. I looked at the 49ers as a surefire team, and then Cardinals who can get boom or bust. So, yeah, that's all for today's episode. There will be another one out after the NBA draft, which is Wednesday, so Thursday, Friday morning maybe, because I want to cover the second round too. But yeah, thank you for watching the episode. We'll see you the next time.